Hey guys, Kakarot197 again, with another question of the week, this time asked by Jeremy Lapis. Since the Real Great line is now over a decade old, should Bandai start doing version 2.0 kits of the early models like the Gundam, the Zaku 2, and the Zeta Gundam? And the thing with this question is, I really like it because at first glance, it sounds like such an easy question. Because why wouldn't we want 2.0 versions of, some of the notorious early Real Greats? But believe it or not, I think there's some good arguments to be made both ways. So first, the obvious ones. The Real Great line launched with the RX-78-2 all the way back in 2010, making it 12 years old, and it does show. Now, while I don't think purely age should be the defining factor for getting a revive or a 2.0, in those 12 years, Real Greats have fundamentally changed. The big defining feature for most of the Real Greats' lifespan has been the mostly pre-assembled advanced MS joint inner frame. A thing that has both good things, but also some very negative things. Like, at the time, it was mind-blowing that 1/144 scale kits didn't just have an inner frame, but also an inner frame that was extremely detailed and also really posable. However, this came at the cost of stability, and in some cases this was worse than in others. And because of this, Bandai started to slowly but surely moving away from that inner frame to the point that the inner frame of modern Real Grades are now just essentially downscaled master grade inner frames. Like, it still has all of the benefits that the advanced MS joint offered it in the beginning, like posability and an extreme level of detail, but it is now able to do so without sacrificing the stability. Like, seriously, I think the only reason that Bandai still includes a tiny bit of the advanced MS joint in even the latest Real Grades is just so they can put it on the box as a feature. A feature that, as we've just discussed, isn't necessarily a good feature. And it is this shift in technology that I do believe warrants some of the earlier kits to get 2.0s. Also then, another shift that I don't see a lot of people talking about is how Bandai deals with the mouth vents. Now, on the earlier Real Grades, these were pretty giant and they were actual holes in the plastic. Like, for mobile suits like the RX-78-2 and the Mark II, whose styles have bigger mouth vents anyways, it's not that big of a deal, but on the more slim machines like the Strike Gundam or the Freedom Gundam, they now suddenly had a comically big mouth, and I think those totally do not fit with the style. And fortunately, just like the advanced MS joint, Bandai has moved away from this with kits like the Impulse, the New Gundam, and the Hi-Nu Gundam. Instead of actual holes, they're now just like panel lines, and they look so much better. Another reason then to get 2.0s going for the Real Grades is simply Precedent. The Master Grade line started in 1995 and got its first upgrade a mere 5 years later with the RX-78-2 version 1.5. And the reason for this was very simple. Technology was advancing extremely rapidly at the time, and over those 5 years, the 1.0 Master Grade had already become outdated, so making a 1.5 for the, at that time, uncontested flagship Gundam was kind of a given. And then another 5 years later, Bandai began rolling out the 2.0. So to get from the 1.0 to the 2.0s was a 10-year time gap. And then for the high grades, it did take a bit longer, but they eventually also got their own 2.0s, but under a variety of names. although usually people will just call them revives. The mainstay high-grade line started in 1999 with the gun cannon, and in 2014 Bandai began making their revives with the much-needed Revive Ailstrike Gundam. So, with the master grades taking 5 or 10 years, depending on how you look at it, and the high grades taking 15 years, it stands to reason that after 12 years, we can start hoping for 2.0s of the real grades. But now let's look at a very important reason to not get upgraded real grade kits. In the ideal world, Bandai would be able to make every kit in every grade, but unfortunately in our non-isekai reality, resources are finite, and especially real grades release at a snail's pace. Let's compare the first 12 years of high grades, master grades, and real grades. The master grades got around 100 numbered kits, give or take, depending on how you count the remolds, and then the high grades got around 130 for the Universal Century alone, and this number is more than doubled if you include the contemporary Seed, Seed Destiny, and 00 kits. Meanwhile, the real grade kits have gotten only 36 numbered releases, with the 37th one coming soon. Now, of course, it must also be mentioned here that in recent times, even the master grades have been releasing at a significantly slower pace than during their first 12 years, so there is that to consider too. But with the reality that we're currently facing, because of this extremely slow release schedule, I don't think it's a stretch to say that every 2.0 real grade would either take the place of an entirely new real grade or at the very least significantly slow it down. And when you look at the amount of awesome mobile suits that still haven't gotten a real grade, I think I would rather have Bandai focus on making completely new ones. I still have not forgotten about that teaser with the real grade Jim, Goof, and Gundam ground type, Bandai. So with all of that being said, let me know down below if you think Bandai should focus on making 2.0s or focus on making entirely new ones. And regardless of where you stand on the first question, which real grade do you think needs a 2.0 the most, and which mobile suit would you love to see included in the real grade line, realistically speaking? As for 2.0s, I know the Zaku's and the Zeta Gundam are popular picks, but personally, I would say they're still perfectly fine. Like, yeah, they're both fragile and they could use an upgrade, but they do still look absolutely amazing, and overall, I think they're still perfectly serviceable. Something that I really cannot say for the Ailstrike Gundam. It's flimsy, it's finicky, it doesn't look all that great, and like I said during the live stream with Zaku Aurelius, the more I look at it, the more disappointed I grow with it, and that is coming from someone who really likes the Ailstrike Gundam. My second pick then would simply be the RX-78-2, because that might get us closer to that real grade Jim that I just mentioned. As for the new realistic real grade then, with Bandai recently giving a lot of love to the Advance of Zeta line, I don't think it's too crazy to hope for a real grade Hazel. Even if they decide to make the thing P Bandai. Another machine then that I think would look absolutely awesome as a real grade is the Strike Noir. That thing is already plenty badass enough with its standard design, and then getting that real grade coat of paint and like extra details would make it just that little bit extra awesome. And then finally, it wouldn't be me if I didn't include at least one Jim here. The Jim Sniper 2 has been getting a lot of love lately, both in model kit and video game form, so again, I don't think that is completely out of the realm of possibility either. And I think they could definitely add some really cool, real great gimmicks to the Gym Sniper too, like with all of those vents, some cool armor separation, and a really intricate sniper pose. And that has been all for this question of the week. If you have a question you want me to answer in a future question of the week video, you can leave that down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time.